Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well, staying healthy and safe. I'm Daniel Rhodes, the Director of the Undergraduate Program, and this is spring advising for fall 2021 semester, specifically for juniors. So we're trying to divide these videos up a little bit so that you're not having to watch an extra long video as I go through different components that maybe freshmen and sophomores and seniors. Actually, we won't be doing one for seniors because seniors are getting ready to graduate. So this video is specifically for juniors. So what that means is if you have completed or if you're transferred in and have done most of the general education requirements and have completed or in Social Work 215 or plan to take Social Work 215 this summer and you're ready to start your fall semester, your junior year during the fall semester. That means you'll need to be in Social Work 310, 311 in the fall. So you should have completed at least around 50 semester hours at this point. You should be oriented to DegreeWorks. I have a video on DegreeWorks. It's been in the emails that I send out. I'm not going to go through DegreeWorks in a great amount of time. In this video, I will pull it up and show you just a little bit of DegreeWorks and show you how to look up classes. Most of you should already know how to do that, but we'll go through it again. But really, really expecting students to orient themselves to UNC Genie and DegreeWorks. I know that sometimes it's complicated, it can be overwhelming, but that is your degree evaluation. And it lets you know what you need to know to stay on track, to complete the courses that you need to complete and to graduate on time, and the number of credit hours you need to graduate on time. So I would just encourage you, if you have not oriented yourself to DegreeWorks, that you orient yourself to DegreeWorks as soon as you can and follow that video on DegreeWorks. So once again, this is spring advising. So that means we're doing advising for the fall semester 2021. It's my request that you have watched this video before you come into our advising sessions. This is Monday, March the 8th. And so we start advising sessions next week. You should have gotten an email from me and you should sign up for advising sessions. We have advising set up for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week from 1 to 5 p.m. in 1 hour increments. And so what that means is you will come into a Zoom group session. I will be there to answer kind of general overall questions. If you have more specific questions, I can break you out into breakout rooms with a faculty person so you can ask questions privately for a faculty person. But if you have overall questions that you may have, I'll be in the main room to answer those questions as much as I can. And then we will try to have extended office hours for a couple of weeks past that to answer any of the questions that you may have. Let's see if I can get this to, there we go. So I reinforce this, especially at this point, that you must take responsibility for your education. What I mean by that, and I've gotten emails from students in response to this, is that you do need to orient yourself to DegreeWorks. You need to know how many credit hours you have, how many credit hours you've completed, how many credit hours you need to graduate, what are the general education courses required that you need, how to look these courses up, how to figure out the general education requirements that, so what are the general education markers for each one of the courses, how the courses are designated, where they're listed and when they're listed. And the reason is because I get a lot of questions, and generally I pull up DegreeWorks to answer the question. So the response I've gotten with students is that they will say, they'll kind of just hand it right back to me. It's like, well, I'm taking responsibility for my education, answer all these for me. And so really I'm trying to get you to understand that, you know, as advisors, our responsibility is to work with you as closely as we can to ensure that you get all the requirements that you need. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to make sure you're taking the classes that you need and being in the classes that you're supposed to be in. We have 400 students in the program. So think about that, 400 students, and we have a handful of us that do advising. So you really want to make sure that you are taking responsibility and following up for that advising. The example that I give in this video, and I give when I do advising sessions, is when I first transferred UNC Greensboro, this was years ago, had an associate's degree. And I remember this was back when advising was done on pieces of paper and pens and pencils. And I remember I had written up a schedule, and I just had a random advisor assigned to me. I hadn't declared a major yet. And I went to meet with this advisor, and I'm going over my list, and he's giving me information. He's like, no, you should take this course. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I said, I don't think that's correct. And he's like, no, this is a course you need to take. This is a course you need to take. So I kind of relented, and I, signed up for the course. But when I left his office and I went back and looked over the information, he wasn't correct on it. I think that what happens is the system evolves and changes quite rapidly sometimes. And there's a couple of us in the program that really try to stay on top of this. As the program director, I really try to stay on top of undergraduate advising and all the changes that get implemented and stuff like that. But, we miss things. And so it wasn't that he purposefully was trying to misadvise me. He probably just wasn't aware of maybe a specific change. And I knew what I needed to take. And so I went back and I kind of scratched out what he said and went back to what I originally looked at. We try to give the best advising we can. We really try to make sure that you stay on track. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to log into UNC Genie, orient yourself to DegreeWorks, look at the classes you've taken and the classes that you need to take, and be aware of the general education requirements that each of those courses have. And I'll talk about that a little bit. I'll use philosophy as an example. And these are the kind of multiple general education courses that are being met for specific courses. So you are stepping into your junior year, you have maybe transferred in. So this is quick orientation for some of you, but for a lot of you, you've probably been here for a year or two, and we're really going to need for you to orient yourself. If you've been here a while and you still are like, I don't understand DegreeWorks, and can you just answer this question for me? It's disconcerting for us because as social work, as a profession, you're going to go into the field and you're going to be working with people who historically are disenfranchised and marginalized, and people who really need somebody who got those critical thinking skills and to be able to help people navigate through really complex systems. And if you have a struggle or you're struggling with navigating something like DegreeWorks, it's going to be a lot more challenging when you're trying to figure out a Medicaid application or a food stamp application for clients that you work with, or application for certain services. So we really encourage students to take that responsibility, orient yourself to UNC Genie, orient yourself to DegreeWorks, and take responsibility for your education. And we're here to help facilitate that process. Most of you are going to need 120 hours to graduate. This is one of those things that we talk about when I'm saying take responsibility for education, because the system has changed within the past couple of years. The General Assembly had changed the requirements. Historically, it was 122 hours for students to graduate. They dropped that down to 120 hours. And this is really based on your catalog year. So students will ask me, well, how many hours do I need to graduate? That's on your DegreeWorks. That's something that you look up on your DegreeWorks. And what I will usually wind up doing is I just look up your DegreeWorks and I look at it and I say, this is how many hours you need to graduate. Most of you will need 120 hours to graduate at this point. They changed this a couple of years ago. It's based on the year that you enter what's called your catalog year that you enter into the system. And so there may be a handful of you who still need 122 hours to graduate. You're getting into your last semester. This was a problem with 122 hours. And this is going back to why I say take responsibility for your education, because what happens is now that you're entering your junior year, looking at your senior year, you're having to be really aware of where your credit hours stand. That's why you need to orient yourself to DegreeWorks. Students would come up last semester, spring semester, their last year, and they will be at like around 119 hours. And they are like, I don't know how this happened. So I had a student actually email me, this was a couple of years ago, Sunday before classes started. They had like 120 hours and they needed 122 to graduate. And they're like, I don't know how this happened. I'm unsure how this happened. And I'm like, well, you weren't really paying attention to DegreeWorks. You have to really pay attention to it. And the student's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's like, you just need to sign up for another class, really, is what you need to do. Student signed up for another class and then emailed and said, I just wanted to let you know I registered for another class. I'm being proactive. And I'm thinking, you're not really being proactive if you figure out the Sunday before your last semester that you need this many hours to graduate. So you really have to stay on top of where your hours stand and how many hours you need to graduate. Most students take 15 hours a semester. So you have 30 hours per academic year. Over 4 years, that's 120 hours. Some of you are going to be entering your senior year, and then we will talk about this. I will do a video in the fall semester for those of you who are getting ready to enter senior year. And so most of you will be looking at, running around 119. It's not as much of a problem. 122 really creates some problems. 120 is not going to be much of a problem, but some of you will be running into like 118, 119 hours for your fall semester senior year, and you need at least one more credit hour. And what we will often do is we will do an independent study, which is Social Work 451, for like 1 or 2 credits, just to get you up to that 120 hours that you need to graduate. But we need to know that before, if it's, because I have had students who've been in my class halfway through the spring semester, and once the spring semester starts, once the ad period starts, we can't just squeeze you into an extra class. And so I've had students sit in class halfway through spring semester, and they've realized I only have 118 hours and I need 122 to graduate. And they are figuring out in the spring semester that they're not going to graduate in May, and they're going to have to take classes in the summer. And that's a difficult thing to figure out your last semester. So you really need to stay on top of that throughout your academic career and how many hours you're taking and where you are and where you need to be to graduate. So just to let you know, as a junior, what this means is you will have needed to complete or currently enrolled in Social Work 215. For some of you, you may be taking Social Work 215 this summer. We have students who will transfer in or change their majors. And so we will get you in Social Work 215 over the summer. But the point is that you are at a number of academic hours, which usually runs around 50 plus academic hours, credit hours, and you will have completed Social Work 215 by the end of this summer. And so what that means is you will need to take Social Work 310 and 311 fall of this year. Social Work 310 and 311 are only offered in the fall semester. It's not offered in the spring semester. It's not offered in the summer semester. We have a 2-year block. What that means is once you step into 310, 311, you're part of a 2-year cohort, and it's going to take you 2 years to finish off your social work degree. And so 310, 311 is only offered in the fall semester. So you can't go into the fall semester saying, I'm going to take 310 and I'll take 311 in the spring. It doesn't work that way. Our system is our curriculum is very rigid and set. 310, 311 are only offered in the fall semester. Spring semester, junior year is 315, 325, and 351. So if you completed Social Work 215 last semester, if you are in Social Work 215 right now, or if you're going to take Social Work 215 over the summer, and you have at least 50 credit hours, then you need to be in Social Work 310 and 311 in the fall semester. And as you see here, as I've gone on, 310, 311 is only offered in the fall semester. And make sure you're completing your general education requirements. They must be completed before you're able to enter the field placement in your senior year. So the general education requirements, I'll pull up DegreeWorks here in a little bit to show you, are the core general education requirements that are listed. If you're a transfer student, which means you have your Associates of Arts degree from a community college, you're not going to see those general education courses because they've already been completed because you're transferring as a transfer student who's completed those courses. If you've been here as a freshman or a sophomore, you transferred in from another university, you transferred in with an Associate's of Applied Science degree, those general education courses are going to be listed, and we really want those completed before you step into your senior year in the field placement. So if you are registering for Social Work 310 through 11 in the fall semester and they're full, you need to let us know, because we need to ensure that you're in those classes. This is one of those things that will happen sometimes where a student like a 311 was full, I'll take it later. That doesn't work that way. If it's full, you need to let us know, because we do overrides to get you in those classes. Technically, at this point, we have more students than we have seat spaces. So that means those classes will fill up, and that's fine. Just let us know, hey, 310's full or 311's full or both of them's full. I've completed 215. I need to be in 310, 311. We will do an override to get you in those classes. I cannot do overrides for other programs, other majors or departments. That's one of the emails I'll get from students. I have to kind of reinforce with them. So if you, especially when you're getting really anxious about trying to get these general education courses completed and they're filling up. And so if you have a course that you're trying to get into, like a philosophy course or a general literature course, and a particular course is full, students will email me and say, hey, can you get me in this course? Absolutely not. Please don't email me about that. I cannot get you in an English class, history class, philosophy class, any other class. I cannot do overrides for. I can only do overrides for courses in the social work program. And so just remember that when you're looking at classes and classes are filling up. That doesn't mean you can't reach out to like the history class that you're interested in, the professor or the department, and see if you can get in that class, but I can't do overrides. And as noted, this doesn't need to be up there. This is for next year. Okay, so I always encourage students to try to maximize your general education requirements. So consider general literature, general fine arts, or GPR, which is the philosophy and religion course. They're also a GL or GN, or a writing intensive or speaking intensive course. I'll show you how to look that up. We'll do that here in a little bit. We do not know when your registration window opens up. This is a really common email that I get from students a lot. When does my email, or when does my registration window opens up? We have 400 students in the program. I reinforce this every semester. I do not know when your registration window opens up. That is in your UNC Genie account. So you log into UNC Genie, you go to registration, you go to fall 2021. And when you click it, it will tell you, it may not say it right now. It may take about a week or so for it to come up, but it will tell you when your registration window opens up. It's all based on number of credit hours, how long you've been at the institution. There's all these different calculus they have in relation to when your registration window opens up. I don't know it. I don't know the registration window for all 400 of our students. That is in your UNC Genie. So students will email me, when does my registration window opens up? I don't know. You have to look in your account and it'll tell you when your registration window opens up. And it may be closer, after the middle of March before it lets you know that. So summer registration is open now. It opened February the 1st. So you can register for summer courses right now. The registration advising code for the summer is 6 5s, 555, 555. It's always 6 5s every summer. So you can look at courses this summer if you're trying to maybe, chip away some of those general education courses. Almost all the courses over the summer are online, offered online. And so if you want to try to get a couple of general education courses done, you can register for summer courses right now. You are unable to register for fall courses. And I don't know when your registration window opens up. You'll have to figure that out in UNC Genie. Don't worry about winter session courses right now. I'm using the same PowerPoints every semester. So I'll talk about that in the fall. So just to give you an overview, some of you probably already know this, but just a reminder of general education requirements. The university requires that you have 2 writing and 2 speaking intensive courses. You really only need to take 1 writing and 1 speaking intensive course outside of the department. The social work department offers a writing intensive, which is social work 325, which is our research methods, and a speaking intensive course, which is social work 351, which is our professional skills course. So what that means is once you take 1 writing and 1 speaking intensive course outside the department, you don't have to worry about taking another writing and speaking intensive course because it's wrapped up in the major. And so we offer 1 writing and 1 speaking intensive course, and that'll meet your requirement for the writing and speaking intensive course. As you move forward, some of you are looking at Social Work 250, which is our data analysis course. The university requires that you have a math course, a general math course. You can, if you are comfortable with math and you are comfortable with statistics, take Statistics 108, which will meet the university's requirement for general mathematics course and the social work requirement for data analysis course. A lot of our social work students are more kind of math phobic. The idea of taking a statistics course is kind of overwhelming. Even if you're really good at math, statistics can be kind of a challenging math course to take because it's a different kind of language. And so we often encourage students to maybe look at taking Math 112, which is Topics of Math, which is a math for liberal arts students. That's not to be confused with Math 115, which is college algebra. So if you don't feel comfortable taking statistics, you should take Math 112, which is Topics of Math, and then take Social Work 250, which is our data analysis course. You can take that in the fall alongside of 310 and 311, or spring of next year, which a lot of students wind up taking it when they're taking 315, 325, and 351. So just to reinforce, Math 112 is Topics of Math. I'll try to remember to bring that up when we're looking through courses. And Social Work 250 is the data analysis course. So the cultural and diversity electives, I've talked about this before, as you look at your degree works and you notice there's a list of cultural and diversity elective courses, that's not an extensive list. What happens is for us to get a course approved and placed on that list, we have to go through curriculum committee, and it takes sometimes a year and a half to get a course approved on that list. And that list can just become somewhat unwieldy. If we're adding every single course that the university offers in the cultural and diversity elective that we would consider a cultural and diversity elective course, it would just be a huge list. Some of these courses may be offered only once or twice, maybe once every couple of years. So this is where I really encourage students to be somewhat creative and to really take time and to kind of look through the catalog, look at courses, think about cultural and diversity elective. These are courses that are looking at other cultures and looking at diversity. And so, we're pretty flexible with courses that you're looking at. And so the example I have here on the slide is a course English 209, which is offered usually each semester, sometimes it's not, but it's a course that's been offered in the past, which is non-Western literature, post-colonial development. It's not listed in the cultural and diversity elective, but that's an example of a course that we would take. So what you would do is you would go through the catalog and you would look and you see a course and you think, hey, this looks pretty interesting. It's not listed in the cultural and diversity elective. I may be interested in taking it. And you just send one of us, like me or Professor Thole, an email and say, hey, I just want to check, would you count this course as a cultural and diversity elective? And most likely we say we will. What you need to remember about this is it's not going to automatically populate in degree works as a cultural and diversity elective requirement. So what that means is if you take English 209, the post-colonial development, it's not going to automatically show up. You're going to have to follow up with us after you've completed the course. Say, remember we talked about you would agree to count this as a cultural and diversity elective, and then I have to do what's called a waiver, what's a curriculum modification, and submit it to the registrar's office to have them count that course towards your cultural and diversity elective requirement. So when you look at the cultural and elective diversity courses, be creative, look outside that box. There are courses that are listed there. If you take those courses that are listed, they're going to automatically count. You don't have to worry about the waiver. You don't have to worry about following up with us. But if you don't see anything in there, or if you're looking at another course, and this will happen if you're doing a minor. If you're doing a minor like women and gender studies or African diaspora studies or anthropology or something like that, these are courses that you may take that are related to your minor, and we would count them in the culture and diversity elective requirements. Religion courses are really good courses that meet multiple general education requirements. So I have some examples here, and I'll pull this up when we go through the catalog. So Islam is one of them right now. So if you take something like Japanese religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, or Islam, they are automatically meet the culture and diversity elective requirement. These are courses that are also a global or a global non-Western, and they are what are called GPR, which is the philosophy and religion course. So like in Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, these courses will often meet 3 general education course requirements. So that's another thing I have you to really look at, and I'll show you how to do that when we pull up the catalog, is to look at the general education course requirements and how they can meet multiple general education requirements. So Some of you are looking at starting fall semester and you know that you're going to be applying to the social work major, and the major requires a 2.5 GPA to be admitted into the professional track, into the major of the social work program. And so some of you may be floating around that 2.5, you may be a little bit under the 2.5. And what has happened is you've taken a course and you've tanked it. We all make mistakes. We don't do so well in a course. And so grade replacement is an opportunity for you to retake that particular course, make a higher grade, and then it replaces the lower grade and improves your GPA. So example I give is American Politics, which is Political Science 200. Let's say you've taken American Politics and you made a D in that course, and that's pulled your GPA down to like a 2.48, 2.45 or something like that. This impacts transfer students a little bit more because you have less courses to offset when you make a D or something. And so what you can do is you can retake American Politics. It has to be the same course. It does not have to be with the same professor, but it does have to be the same course. So you could retake American Politics. So you make an A in it. What you do is you go to UNCG Student First Office. So you can log in. If you Google UNCG Student First, it'll take you to their website. There's drop-down menus, and there'll be one that has a thing about grade replacement. And there's a form you submit. So you take in American Politics, you've made a D. You take it the next semester, you make an A. You go to the Student First Office, you fill out the online form, you submit that. It takes them about a week to a week and a half after the final grade is submitted. Then they review it and they will replace the higher grade for the lower grade. It's amazing. I've had students who have dramatically changed their GPA with grade replacement. So, I mean, I've had students who've had like a 2.0 GPA because one class, especially for transfer students, one class is just really tanking their GPA. They retake that class and make an A, and their GPA goes up to like a 3.0 or 3.5 or something like that. So these are things that you want to think about. If your GPA is not doing so well and you're struggling with your GPA right now, you get up to 3 grade replacements that you can take during your academic career. So as you are moving forward and your GPA is not doing too well, you want to look at doing a grade replacement. If you're doing a grade replacement in the fall semester of your junior year while you're in 310, 311, this may impact for you thinking about applying for the major. So what that means is you need to have a 2.5 GPA to apply to the major, to be accepted to the major, not to apply. So if you're working on a grade replacement, you want to communicate that with me. And what we would want to do is we want to make sure, because we will review applications, and what will happen is if in the end of the fall semester, your GPA is at like a 2.45, you're going to get a letter from me that states you have not been admitted to the program. And what you will do, and I will follow up this during fall advising also, is you will send me an email and you're like, I'm waiting for the grade replacement to go through. Once the grade replacement goes through and your GPA goes up to the required 2.5 or above, then you follow up with me and then we review your application again, and you most likely will be admitted to the program. So just keep that in mind as you're moving forward and you've been struggling, and GPA has been struggling a little bit, that you can do grade replacements for that. So minors, some of you have already probably done this. You have 15 semester hours of what are called free electives. That means anything you want to take that's available for you. Religion course, history course, philosophy, music, swimming, you name it. Any course that is available for you, you can take. You have 15 hours of free electives. This, for some students, makes them a little bit nervous. They really want more of a structure. And so most minors are 15 to 18 hours. And so if you're really struggling, like, yeah, I don't know what to do, I just want some more guidance with these free electives, then we encourage students to maybe look at a minor. And we also encourage you to look at minors maybe related to what you're interested in. We have a lot of students who do peace and conflict studies as a minor. I work really closely with the Peace and Conflict Studies department. They're great courses. They have courses in conflict resolution and conflict in the workplace, global conflict, restorative justice. There's a range of courses there that really match up very well to social work and really enhance social work values and ethics. And they're skills-based courses, which means you're getting skills not only that you can use and apply in your own practice, but that you can pass on to the clients that you're working with. So we have a lot of students who look at doing peace and conflict studies as a minor. For those students who are interested in working with families and children, human development family studies is also another popular minor. We have a gerontology minor. So if you're interested in working with elderly populations, the aged population, you can look at doing a gerontology minor. So there's a huge list of minors that you can look at. And so if you're really struggling to try to look for courses to fill in those free elective areas, and you're not wanting to just take random courses, you could look at doing minors. And you can go to UNC Genie, go to DegreeWorks, and then the what if analysis, which I walk through when I do the orienting you to DegreeWorks. The what if analysis helps you to kind of look at what are the requirements. So something like peace and conflict studies, communication studies, those are open, pretty flexible minors. You take courses and they meet the minor requirement. Something like human development family studies, it's a very rigid minor. They expect you to take specific courses at specific times. And so that may be a little bit more inflexible, but it's still a great minor. So those are things that you may want to look at. So plagiarism, I've talked about this in pretty much all the videos and every time we meet for advising. This, of course, was plagiarized, copied directly from the UNCG website. And basically, it's just to remind students that you need to cite your sources appropriately. And not to cheat on tests, of course, but you need to cite your papers appropriately. As you start moving forward into the program, you're going to start writing more detailed, research-oriented papers. And so, faculty are going to be looking at how you cited these papers. Have you used the APA formatting style, which is American Psychological Association? That's what social work uses. Have you cited things properly? And so you want to ensure that you're not plagiarizing or taking other sources and using it as your own. What we do as a department is we try to be more restorative, take a more restorative justice approach in working with students who have violated. This is an academic integrity violation. And so students who have engaged in academic integrity violation, we try to handle it within the department first. And this is at the suggestion of the university. Because technically, if you've plagiarized something, if you've cheated, we can charge you with academic integrity violation. It goes to the university level and it goes on your permanent record. Our preference is that we would like for it to be an educational opportunity to sit down and work with you and try to figure out what has happened. Are there ways that we can kind of work with you to ensure that you don't do this again? But if you do this a couple of times, we do reserve the right. And generally, if a student does this more than once, we will charge a student with an academic integrity violation and report it to the university. But generally, we try not to do that. We try to handle it within the department. So that means if you've plagiarized something, the faculty person finds out about it, they'll try to work with you and come up with some type of restorative way to deal with it. You may get an F on that particular course. I'm not course, but on that particular assignment, try to prevent you from getting an F in the course. And then you may have to do some type of other assignment to make up for that. So I want to remind students that plagiarism kind of encompasses a lot of things. So if you've been at another institution, like a community college or university, we all use an online platform, whether it's Moodle or Blackboard or Canvas. So UNCG uses Canvas. We've used Blackboard in the past. I've worked at another school where we have used Moodle. And so what will happen is sometimes students will submit a paper at another institution, and then you're writing a paper for one of our classes, and you may submit the same paper, or you may take a good chunk of the paper that you've written and submit it to another institution and put it in that paper. So what happens is Canvas has a program called Turnitin, which means it will scan your paper and then it'll basically scour the internet and see if you have plagiarized anything. So once you submit a paper to an online platform, it's recorded in that online platform. What that means is if you submitted a paper like a community college and you submitted a similar paper to one of our classes, Turnitin will notify the professor that a paper with like 80 or 90% of a similarity will have been submitted at this institution. It won't tell us that you specifically have submitted this paper at another institution, but we can pretty much figure it out. Or if a friend of yours has submitted a paper at another institution and said, here's my paper, why don't you use it for your paper for this assignment, it'll let us know that. So Turnitin is a very sensitive program, and it'll track this stuff down. So we have had students who have submitted papers to other schools. It doesn't happen often, but we have had students who submitted papers to other schools. And then because it's submitted on an online platform, our Canvas platform will tell us that it has been submitted at another institution. So just be aware of that. You're writing a paper. A lot of faculty will want you to use new information. They don't want you to just take a paper you've submitted to another class and submit it just because it's a similar assignment or something. So Canvas will do that. And some faculty will consider that as kind of a form of plagiarism. So email etiquette, you should already know this. I've talked about this, but just a reminder. So the check 3 before me is something I got from a colleague of mine. She has kids in elementary school, and the teacher will tell the kids, you ask 3 before me. So what that means is the teacher will have said something in class, the student didn't hear it or didn't remember it, and they'll ask the teacher, and they'll be asking the teacher the same question over and over again. So the teacher said, you need to ask 3 of your peers before you ask me. So the reason I have this down to check 3 before me is a lot of times I will get questions from students, and like I said, we have 400 students in the program, and I try to answer emails as best I can. The coronavirus has really hit us hard. Everything is gone through Zoom and emails now. Our emails get completely blown up. Email has become almost unmanageable. And so if I get a lot of questions that could be, if you just orient yourself to DegreeWorks, you can figure it out. You can Google it. It's probably in the BSW handbook. These are things. So it's just that critical thinking skills, that abilities. Like I had this question, and I get really frustrated because I think we kind of say this is a generational thing. It's not really a generational thing. It's a technological thing. And I think that we have gotten so used to being able to just kind of send a text to somebody. I do it too, instead of really looking things up. And really, if we just take time to look things up, we can kind of figure these things out, and we don't have to kind of ask a bunch of questions to a bunch of different people. And so really encourage you, if you have a question, maybe ask one of your classmates, could you help me clarify this? And that just is to help to reduce the amount of traffic of email, because it does become unmanageable. And I really struggle with trying to stay on top of emails. I try to stay on top of them as much as I can. I'm getting emails because I'm on committees. I'm getting emails from high school students because they're interested in becoming social work majors. I'm getting emails from community college students because they're thinking about transferring in. And so it does become just an almost unmanageable thing. And we are creating this BSW advising email so that a couple of us can, monitor and manage that. But really think about the email you're sending and think about, is this a question I can really figure out on my own? Can I Google it? Can I look up one of the kind of on the web page or something like that and figure it out? Plus, we're getting you prepared to go into a professional field. And so we really, that's not require, we really expect students to be professional emails. You are not texting us. You are sending us a professional email. I'm the director of the program. So, when I'm going to email the chancellor of the university, I'm not going to say, hey, Gilliam, what's up? I'm going to be very professional. Dear Chancellor Gilliam, and I'm going to be very specific in my question when I'm asking this. He is my boss, so I'm going to be aware. He runs the university. So I'm going to be very aware and very in tune to how I approach and address him in an email. And you want to think about that when you're emailing faculty, you're emailing us, because you all are getting ready to think about going into an internship soon. So what that means is Professor Thole is going to be working with you to set you up with potential internship sites. So spring of next year, you're going to be trying to set up appointments to meet with people. And you want to make sure that you are very professional, because this is a potential internship. And so you want to ensure that you're professional when you're approaching them. And so it's just really good kind of practice that when you are addressing us, you're using professional email etiquette So Dr. Rhodes, Professor Thal, Professor Webb, Dr. Dyson. And then you want to be really specific in your questions. We get a lot of very kind of terse, open-ended questions. And I think that the assumption is that we're just going to kind of know, like I'm teaching 3 sections of 412. I don't know which student is in which section per se, because I'm got 90 students and spread out in 3 sections and 30 students in each section. And so what will happen is you will ask a very kind of terse question. I will email like, I need more explanation, so we really want you to think about formulating that question. And that really also helps kind of eliminate the traffic back and forth. If I'm having to ask a bunch of clarifying questions and ongoing emails, and it gets to the point where we're emailing 2 or 3 times when it could have been, reduced to maybe a couple of times, that really creates a lot of backlog in my emails. And I don't have time to necessarily email 4 or 5 times clarifying questions back and forth. So you all as students, really kind of think about how you structure those emails. You ask very specific questions. The example that I give, and some of you probably heard this before, I had this happen a couple of years ago. A student had come to my office, and I had worked with a student on, I think, approving a cultural and diversity elective course that was not listed. And so the student had emailed me with a very kind of short email that was very unclear. So my response to them was, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And the response to the student was literally, the response was, what has changed since the last time I met with you? That was it. And so I emailed the students like, I don't remember when the last time it was I met with you. Once again, I have 400 students, in the program. And so when I'm in the office pre-COVID, post-COVID, have an open door policy, students are cycling in my office. Sometimes I have several students come in a day. And so I don't remember particularly when I met with a student or what we talked about, because I'm doing all these different kind of negotiations with different students. And so it would have reduced a lot of information or a lot of back and forth if the student had just been very clear in the first email, like, we met such and such date. You had said X, Y, and Z, just want to follow up, make sure this is correct. And then when it was taken care of. So you just want to make sure, don't assume that I remember when we met. Like I said, we have a lot of students, so you just want to kind of follow up, be very specific, practice courtesy in emails, avoid abbreviations like LOL, OMG. I have a tendency to be informal with emails, but I do really expect students to be formal in their email exchanges with me. And then you want to end the email with your name, and it's helpful if you have your student ID number. Most of the questions that student asks me is because I can look it up on DegreeWorks. And generally when a student asks me questions, I pull up their DegreeWorks anyway, because it gives me a frame of reference, where the student is, what they need, what they've taken and stuff. So DegreeWorks gets a little persnickety in that it doesn't always work if you have a hyphenated name, if your name is spelled a little bit differently than what the university has, if you change your name. I can't always find your UNCG DegreeWorks that way. I can always find your DegreeWorks through your UNCG ID number. I would discourage and caution you, however, because I have had students who will put their UNCG ID number in the signature, which means you've gone into your settings and you put your UNCG ID number in your signature. I would discourage you from doing that. What that means is you have taken a very sensitive number. It is not a Social Security number, but it's a sensitive number, and you've put it in your signature. So what that means is anybody you send an email to with your UNCG email has your UNCG ID number in your signature. Most of you, I can guarantee, your PIN number to log into your UNC Genie account is your 6-digit birth date. It doesn't take much for people to figure that out. So if you're sending your UNCG ID number out to just a general population, to anybody that you send your UNCG email out to, it wouldn't take much for a person to figure out they probably haven't changed their PIN number. You can change your PIN number. I would guarantee that most of you have not, and is your 6-digit birth date number. So that means that a person can kind of figure out how to get into your UNC Genie account. And then there's a lot of sensitive information there, phone numbers, addresses, financial aid information. So I would rather you forget to send me your UNCG ID number and me have to email and ask you than for you to put it in your permanent signature that goes out just anybody, because it is a sensitive number and you want to be cautious of that. Okay. So that is the end of the PowerPoint portion of the slide. Okay, hold on one second here. So there's another thing that I want to do really quick. I want to pull up UNC Genie. Let me pull up the right thing real quick. I should have this in front of me, so I apologize about this. I'm going to pull up, we have a mock student that we use, so we're not giving away any sensitive information. No, that's not it. Sorry. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry. I'm starting to lose my voice. I've made a couple of these videos today, so I've been talking for about 3 or 4 hours straight. So I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. Okay, so this is a mock student. So we're not giving away any sensitive information here. And so a lot of this information is covered in the video that I've sent out about orienting yourself to DegreeWorks. And once again, just to reinforce, you need to orient yourself to DegreeWorks. That is your degree evaluation. That lets you know what courses you need to take, how many credit hours you have completed. So the semester hours applied is the number of hours you have completed and are currently enrolled in. Most of you will need 120 hours to graduate, but you want to double check to make sure. And so here are the general education requirements, and then here are the social work requirements. So these are the things that for most of you, you're going to get ready to look at. And then here's the cultural and diversity elective requirements. Just a reminder, you can take either 2 semesters of a foreign language, like Spanish 101, 102, or you can take 2 courses in the cultural and diversity elective. If you're a transfer student, if you've only taken 1 semester of a foreign language, we're not going to make you take the Spanish 102. The university wants you to do either or. What we will do is I'll do what's called a curriculum modification and count that Spanish towards a cultural and diversity elective, unless you just want to take the other cultural and diversity elective requirement. So you should be in or have completed social work 215. So that means you will be in social work 310 and 311 fall semester, junior year. So you will be registering for these courses. So I want to kind of toggle back and forth here. So I'm going to show this. Most of you should be aware of this by now, but just to kind of follow up with this. So of course, looking up courses, you go to the UNCG website, go to the place where you would log into UNC Genie, but you go 6 down to class schedule and you click class schedule. And what's going to pop up is this right here where you select the term and of course, fall 2021, click continue. And this is where you can look up courses, and this is where you can look up general education requirements. So I'm going to show you a couple of things, of course. So social work, just as a reminder, 310 and 311 are offered in the fall. And so our hope is that we are going to be moving back to some type of normalcy by the fall semester. I just got my first shot of the COVID vaccine this past Friday. So I'll get my next one in about 3 weeks. And so the hope is that a majority of students in the population has been vaccinated sometime by this summer. And so our social work 215 courses are hopefully going to be in person. 310 and 311 historically have been offered online. The feedback that we've gotten from students is that you would like to have at least 1 or 2 sections of social work 310 and 311 offered in person. And so as you can see here, social work 310, we have 3 sections that are going to be offered online. And then 1 section is going to be offered in person. And the same with social work 311. We have 2 sections going to be offered online and 1 section is going to be offered in person. And so that way it gives you a little bit more options Some students will do study abroad during the fall semester of junior year. We haven't been doing any study abroad stuff right now, hoping to get back to that point also at some point. Some students are trying to orient themselves to be ready to be a full-time student. And so they're using the fall semester to take these online courses and working to try to get things up to running where they need to be. So you need to be in Social Work 310, 311 in the fall. If you're watching this video, if those are full, you need to let us know. And just a reminder, you need to kind of hammer away at these general education courses, especially over this next year, to ensure that you get them completed. So just to give you an example, what I had said was that there's some courses that meet multiple general education requirements. So I'm going to look at a GPR, which is philosophy and religion. So you go to categories and attributes. That's how you look up courses like a GLT, a GFA, or a GPR. You click search, give it a second, and then here are the courses that meet the GPR requirements. So just to give you an example, as I scroll down, here we go. So Islam, you click Islam and this pops up and you look at the categories and attributes. It's a GN and a GPR. And you can see this also along the side here. It's a GN and a GPR. Islam is also a cultural and diversity elective course. So if you look down here, 225, so pop up, there we go, Islam. So if you take something like Islam or Buddhism, it will meet 3 general education requirements. It'll meet a cultural and diversity elective requirement if you need one of those. It is a GN course, so it'll meet a GN requirement, and it is a GPR course, which means it's a philosophy and religion course. So just be aware, some of these courses, and this is what you have to do. And I know students will get kind of frustrated because you look, there's a lot of courses here, and you have to really take time. And so one of the common emails that I'll get from students like, well, could you suggest another course for me? And really what you're kind of doing is you're wanting me to take the time to go through this, and I don't have time to do that. Like I said, we have 400 students. So if you're struggling to find another course, you're just going to have to take the time and really go through this catalog and, you know, go back to search again. If you're looking at courses specifically, if you just click it, these are all the departments: anthropology, Arabic, art history, astronomy, biology, classical civilization. You can type in like history and art history, and history comes up. So like if you're looking specifically at a history course, let's say a peace and conflict studies course, if you're going to do that as a minor, you click that search, and then what pops up are these are the peace and conflict study courses that are offered in the fall. And you have to take time to go through them. And just to be aware that, you know, some of these courses are going to have restrictions. You're not going to be able to get in 600 level courses as an undergraduate. You're going to be looking at these, you know, 100, 200, 300, and 400 level courses. Some of these peace and conflict studies cultures, like culture and conflict, is a general, global non-Western course. Culture and conflict is a course that may not be listed in the culture and diversity elective requirements, and we would consider taking that as a culture and elective diversity course. So that's just an example. Peace and conflict studies, you looking up courses by subject. You're looking up courses like you need a writing intensive course. You click writing intensive, you click search, and as you will see, there are a number of writing intensive courses that are offered. So you go down, so you're looking at 4 pages of 50 per page. So there's close to 200 writing intensive courses. Some of them are in majors, and so they have restrictions. Some of them are open to anybody, so you can take them. One of the things that I have to reinforce with students is that you are always having to be very cognizant and aware of the general education, what are called these attributes right here. And I'm going to show you an example because we've had students who've done this and have gotten really frustrated about this. So philosophy, if you look up philosophy 111, introduction to philosophy, if you notice right here, this section is a writing intensive course. So it's a GPR, which is a philosophy and religion course, and it's a writing intensive course. And if you notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections of introduction to philosophy. but only 2 sections are writing intensive courses. So what happens is sometimes students will look at these courses and go, hey, Philosophy 111 is writing intensive, but this one is full and this one is full. So I'm going to take this 3rd section, and you think it's a writing intensive course. And because you have not paid attention to the attributes, you just assume it's writing intensive, and it's not a writing intensive course. And so the thing that you are always having to do is when you look, and this is why I have students look at courses through this mechanism, going through the UNC Genie and then going down the class schedule, is because you can click this right here, and then you click the categories and attributes, and it tells you that this section is a writing intensive course. And then you click this and you click the categories and attributes, and this section is not a writing intensive course. So you have to really pay attention, be cognizant, look at these categories and attributes very closely. Just because one section of a course, like a history course, an English course, a philosophy course, maybe a writing or speaking intensive course, doesn't mean that all sections are that. So I've had students do this before where they have registered for philosophy and they thought, well, it's writing intensive, and they've gotten really frustrated and said, well, why is it not showing up as writing intensive? And I have to kind of point out to them is like, that's because you signed up for the one that's not writing intensive. One way to really kind of recognize this, so you look here. So this online section of Introduction to Philosophy has 60 seats, and this course has 30 seats. Writing and speaking intensive courses will not exceed 25 seats. So what that means is any writing or speaking intensive course is only going to, they're capped at 25. That's a university requirement. So that's another dead giveaway. If you're looking at a course and you think, hey, it's supposed to be a writing intensive course and it's got 50 seats available, then it's not the section that's a writing intensive course. So these are things you have to really pay particular attention to, especially now as you're going into your junior year, because what's happening is you're thinking about, I've got to tick away, I've got to get these check marks and these general education requirements because the social work program wants them all completed before I go into field my senior year. And so if you're looking at, hey, this course meets a couple of these general education attributes and you sign up for it, and if it's not showing up here, because it'll tell you, there'll be a little squiggly line, a little blue line, you've got this legend right here. If this line is listed in GPR but not listed in writing intensive, that's a dead giveaway. And so these are the reasons why I say 2 things. You must orient yourself to DegreeWorks, because that's going to tell you exactly what you're enrolled in and what general education courses are being met. And it helps you take responsibility in your education. You don't just assume because you've registered for a philosophy course that it meets 2 or 3 general education requirements. It will show you right here when you register for that course. And if that little blue squiggly line is not there, then you need to think, okay, why is it not there? And you can go back and look and say, oh, okay, because I'm registered for the section that is not a writing intensive course. And now I need to try to get into a section that is a writing intensive course. So those are just things that you need to be aware of. I'll keep reinforcing that next week in our advising sessions and stuff. I think that's about it. I've tried to cover as much as I can. I'm sure I've missed some things. Have any questions, just email me. Just make sure you follow the email etiquette and that your email is very well constructed and you're very clear in your emails. And once again, we don't know when your registration window opens up. That is in your UNC Genie. So just keep an eye on that. It may not be listed as of yet, but probably within the next couple of weeks when you log into UNC Genie, it'll tell you when your registration window opens up. I have sent out emails. I will continue to send out a couple more emails or reminders about registration or advising. You'll have your advising codes in the list with the email. So, okay, I think that's it. Everybody take care. Stay healthy and safe. If you have any questions, just let us know and I'll talk to you later. Bye.